Okay, welcome to my channel. What is up? I am super excited. My name is Bree. If you haven't already, go hit the freaking subscribe button. I can't tell you how many times I would return to someone's YouTube channel and go search it in the search bar just to remind myself that oh yeah, I could push subscribe and then I can get their content all the time versus going to search it. So go hit the subscribe button, go drop down below, actually engage with me. That's what we're here for. It starts as a small community until it's not anymore, right? So I need you to help me get my message out to go help thousands of women, including men across the world, so that we can heal together because let's be real, we're not really all that different, right? Which leads me into the topic of self-worth. And I'm really fired up about this subject because too many of us, especially in our 20s, it seems like it's even worse, in the teens. But a lot of us are looking for the self-worth through social media. And this is what I mean by that. I'm going to hashtag like this now, and I'm going to like my way to popularity. Or, hey, let's be friends on Facebook and on this platform and this platform, and let's not even ever talk again. Just give me a big viewing, right? Like my way to it or hashtag my way to friends. And we give this public persona of getting it all together, having it all together. And then really in the background, it's crazy nuts because people actually don't always have self-worth. So first you have to understand that self-worth and self-esteem are not the same thing. So self-esteem is when you're using measurements to see how well you're doing. It's also a way of validating yourself through your own ideas, your own opinions, and your own beliefs. So, how I think and feel about myself can be really limited sometimes, right? I don't always have the best self esteem. And sometimes you may relate, how many times do you have not so good thoughts about yourself or not so many good beliefs, right? Like I've shared before, I had wanted to start a YouTube channel probably 5 years ago. And those limiting beliefs, they were just saying, oh, nope, that's for everyone else. Oh, no, you gotta just watch everyone else play on the playground essentially, but not you, right? Have you actually ever had those feelings? So self esteem is also measured by how well you're doing on the external plane, right? You're doing awesome if your grades are really good. You're doing really awesome if your boss is happy with you. You're doing extra good if your spouse or your partner is super happy that day. And how well can you serve everyone around you? It can also just be a judgment or an opinion of your self image. How well I view myself is also related to self esteem. For example, I feel really good when I'm in shape and kicking butt and lifting heavy in the weight room, right? I love me a good squat. But that's just self-esteem in the way that I am relating myself to performance. Now, self-worth is really different. It's really, really different because self-worth isn't only up or down when something's going right. Self-worth is the part of you that is bigger than all of those things I just described. So taking a step back, self-worth is like the umbrella up here, and it's the arcing umbrella of saying, okay, I might have not so great beliefs or thoughts or feelings about myself, and other people may not have them either, whether it's my job or my work or my home or my kids. But outside of all of that, I'm good. I'm good. How many times have you waken up on a freaking weekend and you had all of the guilt for not being productive? I like to think of self-worth as how comfortable are you with just being, because that's really an indicator of someone that has healthy self-worth and someone that does not. Because if you're constantly producing and being busy, we all like to accomplish and achieve, and we're meant to evolve and to grow. On the flip side of that, it can be very imbalanced. Here's a good way to tell if you have great self-esteem, or I'm sorry, self-worth. How comfortable are you just being alone with yourself? How comfortable are you when you're not producing and you're just being? And yes, ladies, that means without your makeup, without all your stuff, without all the things done, without the house clean, without all of that. Self-worth is how much do I value myself even when I'm not interacting with the world, right? Okay, I didn't cook, I didn't clean, I didn't go to work, I didn't produce, I didn't do a damn thing today. Do I still have worth? Do I know my value? So, what I find really interesting with lots of women that talk to me and the women that I coach that come to me are looking for this next thing, right? Like their next evolution to where they're at, whether they're in a toxic relationship and they're moving out of it, whether they're single and wanting to get in a relationship, whether they want to fall in love with themselves, or whether they just want to bust out of this like this stuck mindset of being negative all the time. Wherever you're at, it's a really good thing to recognize that a really good starting place and foundation is to focus on self-worth and stop hanging so heavily over here in the opposite end of the pool, because this pool isn't always sustainable. For example, like how many of you got taken down when COVID hit? Because I can tell you I did. And that was when I really had to sit with myself. Like I wasn't able to go into work. I was in the corporate world. Like you hear me, like I was running a full sales team, out there giving energy, doing things, being super busy, really comfortable with chaos in that world. And then having to just like have COVID hit and then just be. I'm like, what in the heck? Right? Like, can you relate? It's like a different world sometimes to be still. And if you know me, your girl loves meditation, love yoga. I love all of those things, but I didn't always. Okay. So that's what's so amazing about becoming aware of your self-worth is that naturally it will pull you into activities that are unfamiliar, and we mistake resistance with thinking that it's wrong. So when you're over here out in the world producing and your self-esteem is pretty healthy because you know you're pretty good at some things and you feel good about yourself and you have a pretty decent self-image, right? Then awesome. But there's other people, guys, that even struggle with self-esteem, even if it's not just self-worth. Like they have the worst self-image. Like I have met so many people, whether they're rich or on the high spectrum or CEOs or just amazing, phenomenal people that like have brains of a freaking wizard, and I'm looking at them like, oh my gosh, they are so talented, so amazing, so brilliant, so smart, so freaking sexy, right? Like there's all of these amazing qualities about this person. And it's sad because their self image stops them from even seeing or recognizing the other parts of them, which just naturally are. They're inherent, right? And that's their self worth. So they kind of go hand in hand, right? Because you can't have a crappy self esteem and then have like this amazing self worth, right? Like there are some similarities to them, but it's great to differentiate them because then you can look at it and say, okay, awesome. Like I have a pretty decent self esteem over here. And I can relate that to my ego and to the things that I like to do and to the things that I achieve and to the things that I aspire for. But over here, like I'm really uncomfortable with just knowing my value just from showing up into a room. Okay, like this blew my freaking mind until someone, a mentor, turned me around and asked me what I thought my value was. Because over here, I equated, like most of you might, I equated my value to the dollar sign. Like, isn't that crazy? I don't know where that belief came from. But my value was based on like how much revenue I could produce for a company, or it was, hey, look how smart I am and look how much I can show you how much I can do. And that was really interesting because I didn't actually have great self worth. Now, I knew how to produce money, I knew how to make that and be awesome and felt like that was value. And so it's really fun when you start to pick apart words because value, in the sense that we're talking about it here with self worth, is a little bit tricky because sometimes I've met people who build their entire self esteem off of just the value of what they can bring in with the dollar. And that's especially prevalent in men. It's also just as heavy with women as well. So it's not either or, but we base our self esteem based on how well we're doing in the world, right? And that's because at a young age we were given a system. Like you go to school, you get good grades so you can get a good job, so you can start a family, so you can provide, so you can get social security. Wait a minute, question mark, right? But that's the formula we were handed. Self-worth over here, not any of us were given that. Now, some of us were obviously raised in backgrounds with religion and church and God and a higher power and spirit and love and all of those things. But if you're really, really brave enough to see how well you do with just your self-worth, ask yourself the question, what value do I bring to just a room, even when I'm silent? What value do I produce and provide for other people around me, even when I'm not serving them or doing or being busy, right? Like that was crazy to me. So if I thought, okay, how much do I value myself? Well, I don't. Hello. I had married husbands that I should not have married in the beginning. Like there was some things that I was doing that clearly indicated someone that had low self-esteem or low self-worth. And I didn't know that at the time. So we love ourselves and we move on. But you really look at the behaviors and the things that you are participating in. And here's what's awesome is when you raise your self-worth, you're going to start choosing differently. When that happens, you're going to have a disrupt. Just be aware, just warning you now. When you raise your standards, it's because you now see your value. So fast forward, I have quit my job, moved on, started my business, coaching women, empowering people, and transforming my own life first so that I can show up as that vehicle for someone else. It's not backwards. So, no, self-worth is not backwards, like, let me go get people to like me. Let me go on social media and get as many likes as I can. Not let me go produce for my boss $1,000,000 and then I'll get the credit I'm looking for. Not no, go to my parents and get self-validation because I can't give it to me. No, don't go pull in a boyfriend or a toxic spouse because I don't know what my worth is. Worth just is. It is non-negotiable. You, up until this point, have let it be negotiable, which is what your biggest issue is that you don't know your own worth. So if you want to understand how to develop that, how to dive deeper into that, and actually want to know more, go ahead, click subscribe. Let's do that first because that's totally free. And if you want to book a call, I'm totally available for that. Like, here's the truth. If someone would have mentored me on what self-worth was before getting to a place of reading a book or seeing a cute meme of just love yourself, hashtag just love yourself, like, let's be honest, I freaking hated myself. I hated her. There was so many times where I could look in a mirror and actively want to fight myself. And that's really deep. And I know that if you're watching this, you have had a similar experience. And you don't even know that you hate yourself until you're wrestling with yourself. So I've shared this before, but it feels necessary to bring up again. I would use fitness as an avenue to be enough because I didn't know I was enough. So self-worth is just an absence or a presence of knowing your worth, knowing you're enough, regardless of its circumstances. I never felt enough. I never felt enough in my relationships. I never felt enough in my body. I never felt enough in the gym. I never felt enough in the corporate world. I never felt enough. So here I am, a freaking like a hamster in a hamster wheel, running and running and running and running and running, thinking that, oh, to get to where I want to be enough, I've got to run the hamster wheel faster or harder or produce more and stay in this pool over here being busy so that I have a decent self-image of myself, which is, well, I do a lot of things and I work really freaking hard and I burn myself out and I overgive. And I thought that having no boundaries was how you attained self-esteem, quite frankly, because that's what was modeled to me. That was the behavior I witnessed as a child. So growing up, switching over to self-worth, it's not as chaotic. It's actually really calm. It's very centered. It's very quite interesting, to be honest with you, because once you value yourself, you no longer feel that you need to push, prove, hustle, and drive. You start from the place that you are enough. And then when you come over to the pool of production and living a life and being of service and, going to work and doing your things, you're just walking in this joy of life and an ebb and flow. And we talk a lot about flow, but no one knows how to get there. It's because in between both sides of self-esteem and self-worth, there are a lot of freaking action steps and self-discovery that you have to do to be comfortable with just hanging out in this space, right? And so I love that analogy because when I was in the gym and I hated myself and I didn't even know that I was self-punishing. I didn't know because in my head was like, well, we're just going to do this. We're just going to, just stop being a baby. Just, that masculine energy, just go, 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 go. And my head had convinced me that we were doing it for the right reasons. But like, I was miserable. Like, here's another good indicator if you have self-worth. Are you freaking happy or are you freaking miserable? And I'm not saying to fill in the blank with like 10 reasons why you're not happy or you are. Yes or no? It's that, like, yes or no. Either you know your worth or you don't. And if you don't, there's people like me that have entirely dedicated their life to making it a life's purpose to help you discover what that looks like. Okay, so book a freaking call because here's the truth. Your life can dramatically change if you're willing to be open to new concepts and learning. I have an entire course that I have built for you on just this thing. More than my entire life savings was poured out into courses, was poured out into mentors, was poured out into anything I could get my hands on because I became obsessed. Have you ever sat back and thought like, man, like I'm smart, I'm attractive, I mean, I have it, I think, and I ain't getting nowhere. Like, have you ever felt like you're in a car, in a vehicle, and it's called life, and you're going somewhere, but it still feels like the gas is on one foot, and then the brakes are also on, like the brakes and the gas? Because I've been there multiple times. It's like, oh my gosh, the engine's gonna just freaking blow because it's like, oh, I have no self-esteem. I have no self-image. I have no self-worth. It's like, no wonder I'm so hungry for mentors and coaches and programs and things and books and blah blah blah, because all I'm looking for is to fill a void. And I recently went to social media and just posted about this so that you also too could understand a lot of what we do is to fill a void. And that's a really big indicator that self-worth is missing because you are not content with just who you are in your own presence. Like, do you get that? Like, it's awesome to be needed. We're naturally wired to need people and connections and things, to feel like we belong. But like, do you even value your own presence? Like the old me 10 years ago, before getting divorced twice by the age of 26, before going through sexual trauma, before going through abuse, before going through breakups, before having my dad leave, before having divorces and all of this chaos, before any of that, right? Like, it's like 10 years ago, I wouldn't be able to take care of myself because I didn't know how. Like, no, I didn't know how. And like I said, it's not common because what you're getting praised for is being busy, and you're being told not to slow down, and you're being told that slowing down is lazy, and you're being told that the opposite side of the spectrum isn't as valuable as producing. And so when you get a day to just be, like, just notice, just ask yourself questions. How comfortable am I in my own presence? What do I need to do to increase my self-awareness or my self-value so that I see me differently? What is it about my self-image that I don't like? Have you noticed a lot of these are just questions? Because guess what? Only you know the answer. My intent is to bring awareness to the fact that, hey, until we change your self-image and your self-worth, nothing's not going to change, not really. Because you've got a certain set of habits over here that tell you this is just how life is. And I'm here to say, break it off. Like, you don't have to believe that freaking lie that this is just how life is. So anyways, I'm going to leave a link in the description. I want you to book a call, and I want you to share this with other people that need it. And I want you to increase your self-value and your self-worth, because another concept that gets thrown around that pisses me off, and it should piss you off too, is that taking care of ourselves is, you've heard it, it's lazy. Like, how dare you take care of yourself? Because that's selfish, right? Like, you taking care of you is selfish. And what the hell are you doing not producing over here and achieving and being, in the hustle like everyone else, right? Like, you don't have to participate in the chaos. I'm giving you permission to attack and approach your life in a different way. Attack, maybe approach is a better word, to approach your life in a different way. And really, when you do start to value yourself and see your self-worth, you just start choosing people different, and you start working in different places, and you lose the friends that you once hung out with, and you start to change some things, and your dreams become real because you're starting to value your own ideas. You're starting to value your own thoughts. You're starting to value your own beliefs. You're starting to value you without the permission of everybody else. Self-esteem is really sometimes attached to the way that other people view us as well. So it's not just us. Self-esteem is also when dad's like, hey, good job. And you're like, yeah, I know. Or, it's like when a friend's really excited that you did something, scary. It's like, yeah, I know. So self-esteem is also related to the needing of other people and having their opinions as well. But reminder, self-worth is the bigger umbrella above mom and dad's voice, above your boss's voice, above your friend's voice. It's above all of that. It's above your own. It's even above your own. It's above your own limitations of who you are and what you think you are. Self-worth is inherent. It's your divine gift. It's that you are worthy and loved and valued just as you are. Doesn't matter if you're fat or skinny. It doesn't matter if you're black or you're white. Doesn't matter if you're you're productive or you're lazy and slept in until 8 o'clock at night, like your worth is non-negotiable. So stop trading it in. It's not for sale. You're not for sale. And you don't have to do it the sleazy way either, because that's not self-worth. You're lying to yourself if you think a hashtag like me today and be my friend on Facebook and never talk to me and putting on a persona of having the biggest truck in town is self-worth, because it's not. Because if I took all of those things away from you tomorrow morning, how cool are you with your essence? Like, how cool are you with just knowing who you are inside? And I love, one last thought, I love when you get familiar with your self-worth, because who you thought you were and who you actually are, like, completely different people, like, all the time. And it's so fun, because then you start to unravel some things and you're like, holy crap, I believed that. Like, I believed I had to do that for love. Like, are you freaking crazy? I'm loved just because I'm loved. And, if you know me, I'm a little senorita in heart. Like, I think I'm a Mexican girl. Loved it from little age, like music, the food, the people, the culture. Like, I'm actually taking a trip to Bali. So holla at your girl, going to Bali in a month and a half. And I love that, because I just decided, once I understood my self-worth, I was like, holy crap, like, I value what I think. I value what I want. I value those things. And I don't really think that I need everyone else's permission to do that. Right? Because I know that my worth is non-negotiable. So it also means, my point of sharing that with you is, when you have self-worth, it also gives you permission to just be who you are unapologetically. Too many of us are saying, I'm sorry. Like, are you? Because I'm not. I'm not sorry for following my dreams, and you shouldn't be either. The reason you're apologetic about it is because you don't see you. And that's my favorite thing to coach, is I'm going to coach you to see you. And once I unleash that within you, I mean, you'll be like, holy freaking crap, right? Like, confidence isn't just for Brie. Confidence isn't just for males. Confidence isn't just for business owners who are in freaking business making lots of money. And value doesn't just mean the dollar bill. Like, what a concept. And it's so freeing. But until you get the actual hands-on experience, this is all fluff and talk. Right? I can inspire you to want to change. I can coach you to get to change, but you get to decide what level you're going to play at. Like, play small if you want to. If you're good with your self-image and your self-esteem, awesome. But if you know there's more and you're tired of doing it the way the world's offering you, then just stop playing into that. Book a call with me now and let's get into business. Let's get into your soul, actually. There are so many juicy things that you don't even understand yet, but I'm here and available to coach them. So I hope you have a wonderful freaking Thursday. And I am going to also include my podcast below. Go subscribe. Go click on the call below. Let's have a free discovery call. If we're a good fit, let's do it. Share my message. And just remember, you are so loved and you are so worthy. So have a good day.